The bigger issue is holding criminals accountable across our country when they're actually breaking the law. And that is something that I think, as a New York representative where crime has gone up significantly, you're down in Washington, D.C., we see it a lot as well. That is the bigger issue and the bigger debate to have about how to deal with actual crime in this country as opposed to reopening Alcatraz.
Well, can I ask you this, Congressman? A lot of the people that are being put in these detention centers, they're run by private prisons. Do you think that private prisons are something that we should have in this country?
Good question.
I don't think that we should be having a system that is incentivized to keep people there. Of course, we need to make sure we're keeping everybody safe, but I don't want to have a system where we literally have a prison industrial complex that is incentivizing keeping people incarcerated.
There's no question you can have reform with respect to that.
Should we have them?
But I don't have a problem with a public-private partnership in terms of actually dealing with the operations of a prison. But the issue to me is actually enforcing the law. If you look at a state like New York, where the recidivism rate on people who are being arrested for felonies and then being released under cashless bail, it is over 50%. That's insane. You're putting violent felons back out on the street only to reoffend. Kathy Hochul just fired 2,000 corrections officers, and as a result is now releasing prisoners out onto the streets. That is stupid policy. So, look, we can have a debate, and I, as a member of the state legislature, had no problem with dealing with some of the issues pertaining to for-profit prisons. But at the end of the day, the bigger issue to me is criminals being released back out onto the street to reoffend.
But they're two different issues.
Right.
I don't know why
we're not dealing with it. That's part of the problem.
We're not dealing with a lot of issues.
What really concerns me is we are literally, a lot of these private prison groups are literally funding people's campaigns and incentivizing keeping these people in prison, which costs us, putting aside the moral side of things, let's leave that aside for now, even though that's super important, just economically, it's costing us billions of dollars. And then they're using that money to help fund the campaigns of the people who refuse to regulate them, and it's a huge problem.
Well, that's true of any industry in America.